Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's time for Cub Chat Live Prime Time. This is our third and final episode of this show. Thanks to
Oh,
Audrey and Anthony. I know it's sad, right? But we're going to make the most of the next hour or so as we talk all about the Cub Scout program updates. Just to set the scene, real quick, for those of you who might be joining in for the first time, we're kind of in the middle of a months long rollout of some really exciting updates to the Cub Scout program. Audrey and Anthony are our experts. I'm just a guy who's kind of along for the ride to let them tell you guys about what's going on. First of all, thank you, Audrey and Anthony, for joining us tonight. You guys doing all right?
awesome. This is a AAA show again.
The return of the Triple A show. And as we get started here, shout out to Mike D, Kurt, Patricia, who are watching from home. Thank you guys for tuning in. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you. Clint, good to see you as well. Appreciate all of you guys watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will say, however, that we're probably going to get to whatever your question is eventually. Anthony and Audrey have done an excellent job. It's not officially an FAQ, right, guys? But it does contain a lot of the information that people are asking about, that people want to know about. To get us started, Anthony, though, why don't you kind of tell us where we are, how we got here, and kind of what's going on?
Yeah, why change a good thing, right? So that's a big question. But we've noticed over time that when we talk to leaders, that there's these little, kind of points of friction, right? It's something that's a real big deal, and we'll work around it or work through it. But we really decided that we want to take a look at that and how many of those we really had, and we were surprised at how many we actually have. And we've actually been on this journey for over 5 years. And there's some things that we made a decision on a long time ago, about 5 years ago, that you may just now be seeing as a result in your scout shops. And so we want to make people kind of aware of some of those things. So, for example, when about 6 years ago, when we took lions off of pilot and put them into the core program, someone asked, are we going to have a lion den leader patch? And the question also then came up, well, where's the wolf den leader patch? And where's the bear den leader patch? And so why do we have a tiger, but we don't have a wolf and a bear? And then why do we have a weeblos? So we listened and we talked to den leaders, and we know that den leaders aren't really that excited about buying a new patch every year, putting it on, taking it off, putting a new one on every year. And so we thought, well, it would just be a lot easier to just have a den leader patch. So we have stopped producing the tiger den leader patch and the weeblos den leader patch many years ago. You just may now just start seeing the results of that in your scout shops. Another result of that was also the weeblos badge. The question of, why do we have two badges for the same rank? So we simplified that, simply just went to the oval patch. And then one of my favorites is, why did we have tiger socks? Like, unlike the den leader patch, we didn't have tiger, Cub Scouts, and weeblo socks. No, we just had tiger socks and regular Cub Scout socks. So we stopped producing tiger socks, as well as the three different belts, right? We really didn't need three different types of belts. So we just simplified that, super streamlined, super simplified. So now what we have is really easy. It's not cluttered, and it makes it, what we hope is simplifying the pieces of the program. Then we took a deeper dive and actually started simplifying the program itself, right?
Yeah, one of the phrases, Audrey, that I've heard you say multiple times: fun, simple, and easy, which are three words that I think we should all be, whether we're parents, den leaders, excited to hear. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit, Audrey?
Right. Actually, that's how we look at our entire program right now is it fun, simple, and easy? Because we use a method called data-driven decision making, or data-informed decision making. And we've used multiple studies and online sources to find out what folks not needed. And as we looked at those, it kept coming up. They want it fun, they want it simple, they want it easy. And so that's what we did. We looked at all these things and the entire program and went through to see if we could make it fun, simple, and easy. And I think we have. But it needs to be fun, not just for the Cub Scouts, but for the leaders and the parents as well. Because if the leaders find it fun, they enjoy leading. And if the parents find it fun, they go, let's continue scouting, let's stay. So they develop a sense of community. So that's exciting there. And simple to understand and to explain and support. So when you're talking to new families, can you explain it easily? When you're talking to the helpers or trying to help the den leaders and the packs, and can they understand it and help it, and the professionals? And easy to deliver. Is the program easy to deliver where you don't have to make a bunch of extra changes, but you just know exactly what you need to do when you need to do it? So we looked at everything in our program, absolutely everything, and we are have been in the process for about 5 years of doing some updates to make it fun, simple, and easy. And these updates will be released on June 1st in 2024 of this year. So it's exciting news.
Our friend Rob just tagged somebody in the comments. That's a great idea. If you have anybody else that you know who you think could benefit from watching this show, please tag them in the comments. They've only missed a few minutes. Guess what? When we're done, they can always go back and watch the first few minutes that they missed. These shows will stay here on this channel for people to rewatch and share with friends. Hey, Flash, appreciate that comment. Very, very nice. Flash says the new updates are awesome, guys. Flash, if you're happy, I'm happy. So thank you very much for saying that. Speaking of questions, one of the common questions I've gotten is about Bobcat. And speaking of fun, simple, and easy, Anthony, back in our day when we were Cub Masters, the Bobcat was something that you earned no matter when you joined, but it was the same. So if you were a fifth grader or a first grader, talk to us about that. Is that changing?
Well,
yeah, that was just one of the pieces. But I think I was going to talk about.
We found Bobcat was an area for improvement. So the next slide we talk about, as we looked at all that data, we looked at got survey data back and responses back from over 23,000 den leaders and parents, that there were 4 major areas of improvement. And Bobcat, as you're talking about, is one of them. And Anthony's going to talk about that in just 1 second. It was a little confusing as far as one set of requirements over the whole program. And you do it once, or do you not do it once, or why do you do it? The adventures themselves needed some updates or some improvements. They were sometimes a little disjointed, and other times there was an uneven number. Like, why do they get this number and we only have this amount? And the volunteers overall wanted more electives. They wanted more electives. The Webelos program itself is over 2 grades, an 18-month program. It's different than all the other ones. It doesn't follow the pattern of the other ranks. And what's the purpose of the program? If it's to prepare them to Scouts BSA, does it take 18 months to do that? So those were some questions we had. The 4th place for improvement were the awards. They were not in the direct line of sight of the leaders and were kind of outside of that. And they only had an attachment rate of about 1.5%. And we found that they weren't driving behavior. So all of those 4 things were the major areas of improvement that we focused on. And with that, we can talk more about Bobcat.
Yeah, on the next screen you'll see. And if you haven't seen this, by the way, if you watched last Tuesday and the Tuesday before, and you're watching this Tuesday, there's not going to be a lot of new information. But if this is your first time watching this, so here's the awe factor. All right. So if you haven't seen this by now, these will be the new requirements for all the Cub Scout ranks starting in June 2024, and in just a couple months. Right. That's the fun thing. So one of the things that you'll notice is Bobcat. Okay, so Bobcat gets a big change. Bobcat no longer becomes a badge that you earn once when you first join Cub Scouting before you have to begin work on any of the ranks. Bobcat now becomes a required adventure, and it's a required adventure in every rank. And what that allows us to do is that it allows us to use the purpose of Bobcat, which we've identified as this is our character and leadership. This is a method of us being able to deliver character and leadership, and for our youth to experience that. It allows us to have different requirements now for each grade level, because how we interact with a kindergartner when we're talking about values and the Scout Oath and Scout Law, completely different than how we would do that, introduce that subject, or what we would expect a 5th grader to be able to retain from that. So the next slide is going to show you, people always want to see requirements, right? So this is the fun part. Here are the requirements for 3 of the ranks of Bobcat. And we picked these 3 just to kind of give you an example of how you can see the difference as you progress from one year to the next. So in Lion, we're just talking about really do your best, right? That's just a concept that we want to instill early on in kindergartners. In third grade, you can see that it looks more like what Bobcat looks like today, right? You're going to see a lot of very similarities there. What you will notice is that requirement number 5, you have to learn about the Denner position, and the Denner is a position that I remember as a youth. We've always had in the program. However, we didn't put it in the direct line of sight of Den leaders, and we think that's a valuable tool to start introducing Cub Scouts to leadership opportunities. You don't have to have a Denner. The requirement is to learn about the Denner. We hope that by learning about it, the Den will adopt it. And then lastly, Arrow of Light in 5th grade, you can see, very different. It looks very different from any of the Bobcats and kind of the requirements. And you're going to be hard to find anything that's talking about Cub Scouting. We're not going to get too much into that because we're going to talk a lot about that a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah, we've also got a couple of folks asking about handbooks. We're going to get to that later on in the show as well. We've got a lot of ground to cover, guys. So just stay tuned. We will get to all that in a second. Another improvement in the spirit of keeping things simple and easy are some common activities for some of the required adventures. Audrey, I think this is your area.
Yeah, so the next chart that we have is our at a glance rank advancement chart. And this is like one of my favorite charts. It's so exciting because this gives you the simplicity of the program, making it fun, simple, and easy. You can explain everything about what the Cub Scout program is by this one chart. And so this is a great improvement we're so excited about. So basically what you need to take away is 6 and 2. Every single rank is going to complete 6 required adventures and 2 elective adventures. And that is it. No other outside requirements. That is it. 6 required adventures. The 6 required adventures are also focused. They are, we often go, why do we do what we do? And how do we explain this to parents? Well, now you have a way. These are the 6 most important things that we feel from listening to you are the 6 most important things. And that is the aims of Boy Scouts of America, BSA, and the focus areas. And so it's character and leadership, personal fitness, and citizenship are the aims of BSA. And the outdoors, safety, personal safety, family, and reverence are the other focus areas. And so those core subjects or topics will be covered across all ranks in the required adventures. The requirements are all going to be different. The requirements are all going to be age appropriate, and they're going to be fun. But those topics in general are what we're going to focus on. And so now you can tell somebody, this is what we do in Scouts. This is what we would love the privilege of engaging and teaching your young person. And these are the kind of people we'd like to build people of character. And then you have 2 electives of choice, and there's going to be a lot more information on that. So I love this chart, and it's that simple for new families, den leaders, those helpers. You know exactly what's going on in the Cub Scout program. So on the next slide.
Yeah, one example that we're going to look at here. There we go, Audrey.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so on the next slide, you can see that for the required adventures, as you were talking about or asking about, Aaron, is there a common activity? And yes, there is. There's a common topic across all the ranks, but there's also a common activity. So in this activity, it's for the outdoor adventure, and it's take a walk. Now, take a walk, the word walk was chosen specifically because it wasn't scary. When you say hike, we tested it and people automatically think, oh, that has to be out in the wilderness with expensive equipment and all these things. And no. We looked at every single requirement to make it inclusive. So we want it to be something that anybody can do. So a walk can be done in an urban environment. It can be done in a suburban around the neighborhood. It can be done in a park. It can be done in the wilderness, but a walk can be taken across all the ranks. So each requirement increases slightly with age appropriateness, and some of the extra requirements beyond the common activity are going to be different across each of the ranks. So we're starting with maybe your 6 essentials here, and then by AOL, you're going to be going into your 10 essentials. So it's it will vary slightly, but there will be one common activity for every required adventure. And that's going to be something exciting for multi-ranked dens who have different age groups in there. You can all go on a walk together. Maybe just 2 dens want to go and have an activity outside. Maybe wolves and bears want to go for a walk together. Could even be done in a pack meeting. So it has great opportunities for being able to plan easily and making it fun and simple.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of when you started talking about this, Audrey, is that's like a good pack meeting activity there when you can get multiple dens involved. Anthony used the phrase earlier, I think, wow moment or aha moment. I think we've got another one of those because we're going to give you guys an exclusive look at one of the adventures. It's the Code of the Wolf adventure. And I think, Anthony, it's an interesting comparison between what we have now and what's going to be coming up in the new updates.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the current wolf adventure, Code of the Wolf. All right, so we're going to put that on the screen. Oh my goodness. Wow. This looks like a lot of things to do for one adventure, doesn't it? And if I was a den leader getting ready for a den meeting, which I've done, I've been den leader, cub master, is that I'm looking for something quick. I don't have a lot of time to prepare for a meeting. I'm looking for a fun, simple adventure. Code of the Wolf is actually a fun, simple adventure to do with a den. The problem is you got to cull through all this stuff to figure out what it is you actually need to do or can do. And so what we did was we took the time and actually went through all the existing adventures. So not only did we have new required adventures, we also took all the existing elective adventures and we culled through them and we simplified them. So now you're going to see the new requirements for Code of the Wolf. 4 things. There you go, right? So now if you're looking for, and what we didn't really eliminate anything. What we did was we focused on the outcome. What do we want you to do? Instead of getting tied up in the details of an exact activity or something specific that you have to do and build that into the requirement, we've actually put that into leader resources. And so now the outcome is focused. It makes it a lot easier. We got rid of those options. There's no option A, option B. There's no do 2 of 3, do these first 2 and then any other 5 or anything like that. It's really simple. And on average, an adventure, our adventures have 5 requirements, right? And you're going to hear about one tonight that is probably the easiest adventure that you can earn, and you actually need to start planning for it now.
Very, very cool. And Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys got feedback from Cub Scout leaders to put these kind of things together, both on the current program and the future program updates. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So what we like to do, Audrey said, we make data-informed decisions, right? We don't make database decisions. Database decisions just means that you're going to follow the statistics no matter what they say. Well, it's a much more I shouldn't say complicated, but you want a more holistic approach when you're making decisions, right? You need to take into consideration culture, and you need to take into consideration some costs, right? That might be passed down. And so it's not just what we get back in survey data. So those 23,000 people is how many people we heard back from when we started building this through various surveys. And each point that we've used in sampling has a 95% confidence level. And if you're not a math geek like I am, simply what that means is that, you may not have been able to answer the survey. We may not have heard from you directly, but there's a 95% chance that if we sampled another size or another group of people, that we get the same or similar answers and responses. So that's the confidence level that we have of our responses. And so when we wrote the adventures for all the electives and all the required, all the new adventures, we actually asked. We sent a survey out to all registered den leaders at the time. We had a 12% response rate, which is a huge response rate. And we asked them these key questions. We want to know, do they think that the requirements are age appropriate? So are they in the right rank? Is it engaging for your den, right? And that to me is fun, right? That equates to fun. And then is it teaching or reinforcing scouting skills, right? So in other words, is this what you're expecting from us in Cub Scouting, right? Or are we just kind of out of our swim lane, if you will? And so on this chart, green is good. right? So green means that they totally agree. The light green means that they just agree. So you can see just by those two captures, we're hitting like 90, 95% of the people are saying, yes, absolutely, we love this. In addition to that, we asked them, what do you like about these requirements and what would you change? And we read every single response. And if we saw a cluster of 10% or more that were clustering around a certain common cause, we actually dove into that and we made adjustments based on that feedback. So really, when we talk about who built these updates, it's you. It's the people in the field. It's the den leaders, the parents, Cub masters, all the folks that respond to our surveys and really just told us what they really wanted in the Cub Scout program.
Excellent, excellent. Susan is asking about summertime adventures. We're going to get to that, Susan.
Yeah.
Linda is asking about a release schedule. We're going to get to that too, Linda. Some folks have already asked about the awards, Audrey, mainly the STEM, NOVA awards, things like that. Maybe now is a good time to address that if you could.
Right. So the next focused area that we looked at were the awards. And they have an attachment rate of 1.5%. And what that means is only 1.5% of the folks actually do the awards. And it's between 0 and 3. So that's actually quite terrible. So the rewards were created to be able to get content that was not in the program, exposure to that kind of content, or change behavior. And what we found is that that was not happening in big numbers. 1.5% is just not good. So we really thought the content was valuable. And so how can we get that content to more people so Cub Scouts can benefit from that content or the behavior? And so the outdoor award is now been translated into an elective adventure. And the elective adventures have an attachment rate of between 15 and 25%. So that's pretty good. And you know that that's not going to be a huge number because you have a lot of electives, so they have multiples to choose from. The World Conservation and Summertime have all been transitioned into or reimagined into adventures. Nova or Supernova, as the question was, is no longer supported by national. It is being supported by councils that are interested in still making that award available. So those things are not something that Cub Scouts has a handle on. Those that would be directly into your council. If they're providing that program, you should go and ask them how, what's available in your particular council. But we have to really embrace STEM itself, not that particular word, but STEM. And we have really boasted that. And I think I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So it's exciting things.
Yeah. And there are a lot of activities that all Cub Scout packs do, for the most part, traditional. I'm thinking about fishing, biking, swimming, camping, conservation. And don't forget, by the way, it is Pinewood Derby season, guys. One of the things that I really like about these program updates is how those are kind of been, a lot of those activities incorporated into the adventures. Audrey, I think this is an Audrey question.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for us?
Right. So we have the next slide shows all the exciting adventures that are available for all ranks. And we are super excited about this chart. This is one of my favorite charts because you're able to get elective adventure loops or pens from doing your Pinewood Derby or your Rain Gutter Regatta. It's now called Race Time, and it's across all of the ranks. So anybody that participates in those can have the belt loop or the pen, and that's exciting. What we found through some other data about the outdoors and what youth of this age like, one of the things they like the most or nearly the most was fishing. Well, the chart shows that anything in bold is new. So the only thing that existed was fishing in bear. And if you didn't, join in that year or missed out on that day, you didn't get to go fishing. And if that's one of your favorite things, that's pretty sad. So we fixed that. So now there is fishing across all the ranks. There's cycling across all the ranks. Same thing. It was only available in Rolling Tigers. So now these are great for pack meetings or multi-den gatherings. So have a bike rodeo for cycling and be able to get one of the main requirements done, at your bike rodeo for each of the ages, and then maybe have stations for the extra ones because the older ranks are going to have more things to do. So these are great things for planning. Same thing with swimming. There's now a camping adventure elective belt loop or pen. And World Conservation, which is something near and dear to my heart, is owned by the World Scouting, and they changed their name to Champions of Nature. And so we have updated our curriculum to reflect that. It's now called Champions for Nature. It's now available across all the grades for conservation. And we're actually the first in the world to offer this to this age group. And so we're really excited about that. That's like a big milestone. So not only are you still able to get the content that was out there, but you're going to be able to get more of it across more grades. And it's going to be fabulous for pack planning and for multi-age dens, because we know there's a lot of folks out there that are in multi-age dens. And so this gives you some opportunities. But that's not all.
But wait, there's more.
I was just going to say, but great minds think alike, guys. It's the AAA show. What can we say? Speaking of A's, Anthony says, Anthony's watching, says STEM is great for the Cub Scouts. We agree, Anthony. Carl, shout out to Carl from Weaver, Alabama. And Bob Smith says, in his opinion, being a Nova Council was too complicated. This is much easier. Thank you, Bob, for the feedback. Appreciate all that. Again, we've got a few more folks asking some questions, all of which I'm pretty sure we're going to get to. Somebody earlier in the chat asked about the Arrow of Light adventure and brought up the idea that, the calendar is a little bit shorter for Arrow of the Light dens because most of them cross over in February or March of the next year. Our next chart, I think, illustrates how that, we're finally getting to that question, ma'am. Our next chart sort of illustrates how that is going to work. If we could put that on the screen, I think Audrey is going to kind of tell us about this, but it's a great graphical representation of how it's all structured.
Right. I'm going to go over some of the electives, and then I think Anthony's
Absolutely.
Specifically addressed AOL.
Absolutely.
Yes. So this is our new electives chart. And once again, I love this chart. So it's at a glance, easy to explain. What you're going to notice is our core programs, which are our year-round school year programs, are first grade through fourth grade, and they have 20 electives. So everybody has the same number of electives. It's much more balanced, and that's great to see. Our little bit shorter programs are the Lion and AOL, because they're only roughly about a 9-month program, because the kindergartners don't start until the fall, the Lions, until they enter kindergarten. And AOL is still going to be crossing over in the January, February timeframe. And so they're a little bit shorter program also. So they have 16 and 16. So it's 20 and 16 and boom, across the board. What you're looking at is the lighter color are existing electives. Now, when I say existing, it's existing in content, like the general topic, but every single elective has been changed, as Anthony talked about, making it more clear, making it more inclusive, helping to eliminate anything that was unclear and not directly to the topic. So that's exciting. That doesn't mean we made it so simple that they're not interesting and fun and sometimes even a little complex. It just means it's very clear in what is needed and what the directions are, and what the topic is, what the outcome is that we should expect at the end of this elective. The middle section are all those awards that have been reimagined, including a whole section of STEM. We now have STEM in every topic for science, technology, engineering, and math across each of those grades. So that is I think that's a doubling of the electives for that one. And then, of course, the world conservation and camping. Camping is on there too, so everybody can do that in their pack. So that's exciting to see. The shooting sports, the range and target sports have also been reimagined into electives, so that you can get those through your council or district or certified representatives there. So they're still needed to be done at certified events that your council or district might have. So that's a really exciting chart, so you can see all what's coming up and lots of opportunities.
Brian had asked about the target sports. You addressed that. Thank you so much, Audrey. Appreciate that. Mm-hmm. It was Chris from Newburgh, Indiana, who asked about the Arrow Light program. That chart kind of shows you a little bit of that there, and I think we're going to get into that a little bit more a little bit later. We have one more question that I want to address about summertime activities. Susan asks about summertime activities. Maybe now is a great time to get into summertime fun and things like that.
Yes. So the summertime fun is our elective that is across all the ranks for summertime. And we're going to give you the requirement for it. And it's one requirement. So it's do something anytime from May through August, participate in a total of 3 Cub Scout activities. And earning this adventure is not dependent on anyone else's participation. So if a scout goes to 3 activities anytime in your summer break, which is, flexible, we're doing our best here, whatever, between May to August, because we know year-round schools and other schools have different dates. So if they do go to 3 activities, they can earn this pin or belt loop. So that's really exciting. And then you can plan it. And I think the question was, what qualifies? Basically anything that a Cub Scout's invited to, it qualifies. So if it's a council or district camp, the PAC, certainly if the PAC's having something, a den meeting, any of those things would count. So yeah, it's meant to inspire you to continue to have a program during the summer and use your creativity in some of the activities that you can provide for them. So that's it. That's the requirement. That's a one. Most of them are not going to be 1. Most of them are about 5, but this one happens to be 1.
Well, and the key thing that we want to bring this up, if you put that aside one more time, is that now's the time to plan, because to earn the Summertime Fun adventure for Tiger, your current Lions are going to earn the Tiger Summertime Fun. So your current Lions are going to earn the Tiger Summertime Fun. Your current 4th grade Weeblos are going to earn the Arrow Light Summertime Fun. So it's real important. That was another point of confusion that we have with the National Summertime Tackle Board. How does that count? What is summer? Blah, blah. Yeah. So we've clarified that. So that's why we want to make sure people are very prepared to understand that your rising 1st grader, right, which is your current kindergartner, earns the Tiger Summertime Fun.
Mm-hmm. And this starts June 1st. And I get that question too. If your school ends before June 1st, you can count whatever activity is happening in May. So that's okay.
Yeah, that's a very common question. Thank you for bringing that up, Anthony. A Lion right now, by the time they start working on summertime activities, they will be a Tiger as soon as they're done with their spring semester year, right, grading period. Whenever that might be, June 1st is kind of our official date. But like Audrey said, if your school gets out early, that's fine. You don't have to wait till June 1st. By the way, also a quick shout out. You mentioned like summertime camps, council camps, district camps for Cub Scouts. Mm-hmm. I mean, just pro tip, do that. I mean, not only is it fun, but
you don't have to do anything. Just get people there.
Yes, thank you. You've got all of it, or almost all of it is planned for you. They probably
give the leaders a little bit of a break.
Yeah, exactly. You might
did have a question that
as I did.
We did have a question that popped out I do want to address when asked about the duty guide. Where is that embedded? And that's embedded in all the required. Every rank now, including Lions, has family and reverence. And part of that includes, and you'll see the requirements very similar to the current required adventures. But what we did was we included the option, if you earn your religious emblem, then you have automatically earned the adventure. And that, for the first time, is actually in the Cub Scout handbook. And so there's a QR code that takes you right to the Religious Emblems program. So we really are putting that into the direct line of sight of our families and of our den leaders. So we're excited about that. And the folks for the Religious Emblems program are excited about that, because we're hoping that will increase that awareness of that program.
Yes, and the day camp folks and the outdoor folks have all been provided all the materials. Was it September or November? So they're already planning for the new program. They'll all be set up for it. And I see in the comments, we've got some knife handling safety questions. So the day camps and the council camps have all been provided with the new information. So they will be prepared for the new knife safety handling things. So I know that's too detailed for this, but just let you know that is there, and they've been advised on it. So they should be all ready.
Yeah. All the councils have all the support they need for building their summertime programming. So if you're involved in that and you haven't seen that yet, get with your staff advisor or your council, and they have access to that.
And we'll be handing that in a Cub Chat live a little bit later. But anyway, just wanted to answer that.
Yeah, by the way, that's a good point to remind everybody, keep watching Cub Chat Live on Friday during our regular schedule time. We'll be talking about a lot of these things in more detail, including this Friday at 2 p.m. Central Time. It'll be Audrey and me. I want to give a quick shout out to Melissa from PAC 679 in Las Vegas. She's moving away just in time for the Super Bowl. She's going to miss it, I guess. She says this is her last night as a Cub Master. Her family's moving to Iowa. Melissa, I'm pretty sure they have Cub Scouts in Iowa, so I'm just saying.
Thank you. Thank you for being Cub Master.
We do appreciate. That's what I was going to say. Thank you. We do appreciate you being Cub Master. We've all been there. All three of us on this call have been there, so we definitely appreciate that very, very much. Okay, another one of the common questions, we mentioned this earlier a little bit. Arrow of light.
Arrow of light. All right.
Arrow of light.
So
have you been asked about that before, Anthony?
Oh man, and this is where people get really excited, and they're like, "I heard this is going on. I heard this is going away." And then when we explain, they're like, "Oh, that makes so much sense, right?" And again, this goes back to credit to this is us listening to you, to the field of all these pain points that you had with some of our programs. So that's why we came with the updates. So we'll look the chart up, and if you didn't notice this already, we're going to draw clear attention to it. All right. So here's the thing: Weeblos is no longer going to prepare Cub Scouts to join Scouts BSA. So let me say that again, because it's kind of what? Weeblos no longer is preparing Cub Scouts to join Scouts BSA. Weeblos will be our Cub Scout program for fourth graders, just like the Bear program is for third graders, right? And then Arrow of Light becomes our program for fifth grade only. So fourth grade, fifth grade. So now it really makes sense, right? So now there's no exceptions. All of our badges of rank are tied to a grade level, right? So it's super easy to explain. We don't have to have exceptions and ifs, ands, or buts. So Arrow of Light is where we are unabashedly preparing Cub Scouts to join Scouts BSA. And I say unabashedly because now, since we're not mixing two different grades, we have this grade that is within a couple of months that is going to join Scouts BSA. So what we've done is we've taken that program and we've made not just one adventure, because you may be looking at, well, where's the scouting adventure? Where do you learn about Scouts BSA? All of the required adventures in the Arrow of Light have some method of some form that they are preparing them for Scouts BSA. So it is a seamless transition. And so the next slide, you'll see our uniforming becomes simplified as well. We get fourth grade, since that becomes the fourth grade Cub Scout program, right? They stay in the blue uniform. The Weeblos hat stays, the Weeblos neckerchief stays. We do have a change that Weeblos colors, that where you put your adventure pins. We're changing that to the adventure colors, because both fourth and fifth grade will use those since they both utilize pins. And then fifth grade essentially is the Scouts BSA uniform. Really, the only distinction is that they will have the blue shoulder loops to indicate that they're still in Cub Scouts, not quite yet in Scouts BSA. But there's not going to be an Arrow of Light neckerchief and hat and belt and all this other stuff, right? We will kind of learn our lesson from that. So the question that comes up that people ask and is they're like, do I have to change my uniform and do I have to change patches? And no, you don't. That's not the intent of these updates, right? The intent is to simplify it. And so here's a little thing that you may or may not know, but we do have this book called the Uniform Insignia Guide. And if you're looking for some great bedtime reading, I highly recommend it. And in that, it tells you every little patch that we have and where it's supposed to go. But there's a little thing that says that your uniform, you can wear any uniform from any time period, and it is considered appropriate. It's part of the uniform. You just got to make sure that all the badges are from the same time era and all that kind of stuff. So your Cub Scouts uniform that is current today, and because this change may be a little bit different, they're still good. It's still official uniform. We're okay. You don't have to go out and change anything. The next question that comes up about this is people go, well, when do I change into the tan uniform? Do I have to wait? And no, there's plenty of situations. Ultimately, when you change uniforms and buy a new uniform, that's a family decision, right? We know that. We respect that. So ultimately, there's a couple scenarios that come to my mind off the top of my head, right? One is maybe when they earn their Weeblos badge of rank, since it goes on the tan uniform, that's when you buy your tan uniform shirt, right? That would make sense, right? Maybe you wait until they finish their fourth grade and then they are officially bridging over into Arrow of Light and they're fifth graders. Or maybe your child's buttons, I call them screaming buttons. They're screaming because, that shirt they've had since a tiger doesn't quite fit them as fourth graders anymore, and they need to buy a new shirt. Probably time to buy a tan uniform shirt, right? So again, very flexible. The idea is to make this simple and easy for someone who's coming in to understand how does this program work and what uniform do I buy. And if you're coming in fourth grade, you buy the blue uniform. But most folks have already been in the program in 4th grade. And so this gives them also the opportunity to wear that bear badge all year long during 4th grade. And so that's the simplification of the uniform. The next big piece is, as we've seen in the charts, we didn't call it out, but you may have noticed that Webelos and Arrow of Light no longer share elective adventures, right? So there will be a separate book. So there's a Webelos handbook, which will have all the adventures, required elective adventures to earn your Webelos badge of rank. And then there will be an Arrow of Light handbook. Again, completely separate programs, right? And so Arrow of Light, not only will it have the required and elective adventures to earn your Arrow of Light, you'll notice on the cover, there's a Scout badge of rank. So we partner with Scouts BSA, and we have included content on how to earn your Scout badge of rank, right? So now that 5th grader, when they go to their first troop meeting and they just crossed over, they don't have to have their Scouts BSA handbook right away. They can just use the Arrow of Light handbook until they get through their Scout rank and then go into their Scouts BSA handbook, right? So again, it makes it a lot, this is a seamless transition. The expectation is that you're in 5th grade. Part of that time you're going to be Arrow of Light. The other part of the time you're going to be Scouts BSA. We did make sure that all the adventures can be done in a shorter time frame. So that's the next question that comes up a lot about Arrow of Light and transition. Can they still transition in time with, having to earn 6 and 2? And the answer is yes. There's actually most required adventures in Arrow of Light. They have like 4 requirements. We've really made sure that they're getting the most impactful requirements are done, but also that there's not repetition on what they're going to have to do when they get into Scouts BSA and earn their Scout badge of rank either. So if they're going to get it later in the troop, we didn't make it part of the Arrow of Light requirements. So again, hand in hand with Scouts BSA and making sure we have a seamless transitional program from Cub Scouts to Scouts BSA.
And we're going to talk just a second about current 4th graders and what you need to know if your child or your Cub Scout is in 4th grade. Before we do that, though, I want to give a quick shout out to Amanda, who says, thanks for the day camp shout out. She's a program day camp director. Thank you, Amanda. We appreciate that very much. Anthony gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thumbs up. I think that's a good thing. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that very, very much. Another day camp director, Lisa's watching. Man, a lot of day camp directors. Thank you guys. Appreciate that very, very much. And also I want to give a quick shout out. We've just started doing our live streams to Instagram, guys, and we've got quite a few folks watching on the BSA Instagram channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Another FAQ, frequently asked question that we've gotten is if a Cub Scout is currently in the 4th grade,
yes,
what do they need to know? What happens? What do they need to do? Yes.
All right. So next slide. Stop. Stop. Take a deep breath, pause. If you have current 4th grade Webelos, they should not begin any work on Arrow of Light, right? So that's what we're saying. Look, Audrey and I, we love to travel. We really do. However, we do not have the ability to go to everyone's den meeting to make sure that they're not working, 4th grade Webelos are not working on Arrow of Light, right? So we can't police that, right? But what we're telling for to meet expectations, right, to have a fun and inviting program, we're recommending don't start working on Arrow of Light. Don't jump the gun, if you will. What we do recommend, right, I don't like just saying don't do something. What we do recommend that you do instead is that you look at the elective adventures that are not going to be part of Arrow of Light next year, that they're staying with the Webelos 4th grade program, right? So specifically that is Aquanaut. Even though they're swimming across the board, there's going to be a separate adventure for Arrow of Light called swimming. So they won't be able to earn Aquanaut next year. So get them to earn Aquanaut. Get them to earn Art Explosion, Aware and Care, Build It, Earth Rocks, and Modular Design, because those adventures are going to be sticking with 4th grade and not in 5th grade. So this is their last year to earn those adventures. So that's what we recommend doing. And that should fill you up. That's a lot. That's 6 adventures there. That should get you through the end of the year. So instead of working towards Arrow of Light, we recommend that you start working on those adventures that won't be available next year.
Excellent, excellent. Amber says, this is great info. Her oldest son has his Eagle Scout ceremony in a couple of weeks. Her youngest turns 5 soon and is going to be joining Scouts, hopefully following in his brother's footsteps. Thank you, Amber. We appreciate that. It wouldn't be Scouts if there weren't patches, right? There wouldn't be any. You got to have patches. Another common question, what do we do with our patches? Some of them, some kids have already earned a couple of patches of rank. Do we have to just throw those stuff away, set them on fire, get rid of them?
No. We want to do our best. And so on the next slide, we show exactly what that means. So current Cub Scouts do not need to change their uniform. But this is a suggestion for Scouts coming in on the next few years. And starting June 1st, that the first badge of rank that they earn is in spot number 1 on the top. The second on the left, the third on the right, and the fourth on the bottom, if you are in the program that long. And so that it's just that simple. We know that Cub Scouts is a testing time for families to decide, is this something our family wants to enjoy and pursue? And so they come in at all different points. And so we wanted to make it as flexible as possible and doing our best. We do not want anybody to call out Cub Scouts on whether their badge placement is correct. So it's just how you earned it and how you can put it on your shirt or in one of those plastic holders, which makes it even easier. And one of the things to note is, yes, the lion badge, if you see here, has changed. It is now in the diamond shape like the other ones. So that's exciting news. And so if you are in the program from the very beginning, the lion would be in the top, and you can see the other two. And we just don't want anybody we want to make Scouts included and to feel welcome and to just do their best. So this is a suggested placement, but nobody should need to change their uniform if things are already in place. We're happy that they're on right now. So just do your best. So as we transition to the next things.
This is exciting, folks. I just want to say that real quick. This is another one of those sort of wow moments, I think. Go ahead, Audrey.
Right. So the next update is the handbooks. Woo! Anthony showed you a little bit about it, but I'm going to talk a little bit more detail.
A lot of people asking in the comments about handbooks, by the way. This is for you. This next section is just for you guys. Go ahead, Audrey.
Right. So one thing to note is the grade is right on the front. So you can see what grade that we're talking about when we talk about kindergarten. And sometimes I say, we need to use less lingo. Folks coming into the program, new families, they just talk about their kindergartners, right? Then they'll understand that they're lions a little bit later. But this makes it easier to explain the program to them in first grade, kindergarten, second grade, third grade. This is your book. This is your handbook. And the name is on the front. That was a big deal for a lot of people to be able to have the name on the front so they could tell whose book it is when it gets placed somewhere it shouldn't. The other thing
that ever happens.
Yeah, it never happens in Cub Scouts. It's when, not if, right? The next thing to note is that the Lion Handbook, it went from 23 pages to 64 pages. So some real added content and value there. And it's going to be coming with an adult partner guide, not a den leader guide, but an adult partner guide, because we found that a lot of people were just tossing them because they didn't understand that they're the partner to work with the scout during the meeting and in the meeting. And so this just makes it a lot more clear, a lot more simple. So those will be packaged together. So the tiger also has that adult partner guide. So both lion and tigers will be like that. They're going to be slightly bigger. The other 4 are going to be about the current size that you have with the spiral bound and very familiar types of content. But as we said, everything has been updated and changed. So those are some exciting things. So let's look at some details.
Now we're going to give you guys an exclusive behind the scenes look at what these books look like. They look very, very cool.
Right. So all the handbooks are youth facing. And so I think this is so cute. I just think this is just adorable. These are characters from Scouting Magazine that they're already familiar with. And they're all along the lion trail. So they can easily see age appropriately how things progress. So you're starting with your bobcat as your first required adventure that you do at the beginning of, say, the fall when your group just meets as a group for the first time. It's a character and leadership, and they can color that in when they've completed it, and then they walk down the trail. Next, they're going to do the lion outdoors, and often we suggest that outdoors is number 2. because it's still good weather in the fall and you can go outside. So that's a recommendation there. And then they just continue on the trail and they can see the progression and where they are and what they've accomplished all the way to badge of rank. And I love that there's a differently abled character here, and all of these characters that you can have fun coloring in and being very inclusive and very fun on their trail. So that is the one of the front cover, or one of the inside cover pieces. And then some of the next thing is content. And so when you look at this is going to be some, there'll be some supplemental content, and then there'll be actual adventure content. And so like Ready, Set, Grow, we're talking about food and healthy food and how to be healthy and what a colorful plate looks like to get all your vitamins. And so they can color that in as they're working on their requirements, and just as a visual of what that looks like to have a colorful plate. So there's some very fun graphics there. And then the next slide, this shows the tiger trail. And so as you can see, the lions is very cutesy. This is tigers getting just slightly less cutesy, a little more realistic, as they also can color in and go down their trail so they can see what they need to do to achieve their badge of rank. And they've got the adorable tiger character there on the trail, on the tiger trail. So that's just a fun page so they can see their progress as they're moving along. And then their pages on the next slide look slightly different. They're age appropriate, more the kind of matching and things like that this age can do. And lots of those cute characters as they're doing tech in in first grade. So that's pretty exciting. What does that look like in first grade? And how do we do that? There's a STEM topic right there. So that's really great to see. Then the next one, it starts to change. And this is Wolf. And Wolf starts to be more realistic. Like, show me pictures of other wolves. There's a big leap in developmental changes that happen at this grade level. And so the handbooks reflect those developmental changes. So it's clean and neat. Look how clean that is. You get a snapshot of the adventure, and then there's your requirements. Well, this one has 6. As we said, the average is 5. But this one has 6, but you can tell easily what is needed to get this belt loop, this adventure done, elective adventure. And then there's a QR code on the bottom. I'll have to keep that in mind. What does that mean? Let's look at that. But the back cover is just as fun. So what you're going to note here is you have the tabs. So each of the tabs refer to the adventure. So that's going to be handy for the scout, handy for the den leader, for the parent. Anybody to find these is to have the little tabs along the back so you can find what you need. It also has the scout oath and law and sign, which all should be top of mind, handy to have on the back cover. So that is going to make it easy to deliver as well. It's all right there. Simple. Flip your handbook over. Let's go over it in one form or another. So those are some exciting handbook changes.
Very, very cool. Ben says he loves the place for the name on the front of the handbooks. That agreed. Very, very cool. Steve, who's watching on our YouTube channel, thank you for watching, Steve, says he likes the integration of the comic characters from Scout Life magazine. I agree. They do a great job. By the way, speaking of adventures, we've learned during this process that producing handbooks are an adventure, all of them. So I think we should all get some sort of medal for that. But that's a story for another time. Anthony says, agreed. The kids will love it.
We need a belt loop for that.
We need some special. You guys need some special belt loops for that, for sure. Lisa says she loves the use of the new QR codes. Bob, also on YouTube, says love the new handbooks. One of the common questions we're getting is resources for adults, leaders. Maybe now's a good time we could address that, Anthony.
Yeah. So. The big news, again, we got, big news as you're tuning into Cub Chat Live, is that Scout Book Den Leader Experience is going to be retired. If you do not know what I'm talking about, that's one of the reasons why it's going to get retired. It's an online resource that was developed to help den leaders deliver the program. We learned a lot from that process and that experience, and we're incorporating those changes with these program updates. One of which, and the most important part, was that the den leader experience, you had to be a registered den leader to be able to get into the den leader experience. And so if a Cub Master had to pick up a den meeting to help someone out, they couldn't get into the resources to deliver the program. And so moving forward with the program updates, all what I'm about to show you, these are wireframes. These are example pages. These may not be what the final pages look like. So, but they're all going to live on scouting.org. That easy. And so what will happen is you'll go to the main page. You pick the rank, and then each rank has its own dedicated page. This is an example of what the Lion page will look like. It'll have, here's your Bobcat adventure, because that's kind of where we want people to start. And then all the other required adventures, all the elected adventures. You click on the adventure that you want to work on, right? So click on that adventure and it takes you to the next page. Each adventure will have its own page. And that's where that QR code goes. So you have direct connection from that handbook to the leader resources. So if you have a parent who is pretty handy and they're going to help with Build It or some other craft project, you can have them, hey, can you scan that QR code and look at the adventure and help me out with one or two activities, right? It's really super easy, puts in the direct line site, easy to share. In that, each adventure page will have kind of a snapshot what this adventure is about. It'll have a safety moment. So right there, you're going to know right away, is there any specialty training that I need to know? Is there any tips or tricks? Or is there a specific rule about guide to safe scouting that I need to know? It's all right there. You don't need to have 3 or 4 other resources to know how to keep this safe. And then each requirement will be there. And underneath each requirement are these things that we call activity cards. And activity cards this is where we talked about earlier, how we simplified the requirements by saying, hey, this is the outcome. This is really what we want you to do. And didn't get too tied up in the specific details of here's the exact craft or the exact activity that you have to do and make that part of the requirement. We pulled those out and now they're leader resources. So now you can pick the activity that matches your available resources. I remember putting together den meetings, and there were some den meetings, I had plenty of resources. I had time. We had just did popcorn, so we had money, and so I was able to do some more things during that time frame compared to when we just did a recruitment night, and I'm still trying to get contact with parents, and I don't have a lot of planning time in there for my den meetings. So what we did was we came up with these activity cards, and at a glance, you can find the activity that matches your available resources for that week, right? So how easy is this, right? We want to make this fun, simple, and easy for den leaders too. And so the first icon will tell you, is this an indoor activity, an outdoor activity, or is there travel required, right? So that's like we are go and see it or going to visit the fire station or something like that. It's not your normal meeting space. The next one is a lightning bolt. And the lightning bolt tells you the energy level of the Cub Scouts, right? So from a scale of 1 to 5, 1, it's passive. This is like talk time. There's not going to be a lot of energy. And a 5, they're playing soccer or kickball. They're going to be running around. It's going to be lots of high energy, right? The next is the supplies that are needed. How much supplies are needed from a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being no supplies needed. You can do this on the fly. To 5, I call it 2 trips to Home Depot. Right? You never make 1 trip to Home Depot. You always got to make at least 2, right? You're going to forget the washer or the screw or whatever. And so it's custom or uncommon items that may be built. The great thing about 5s, though, I can tell you this, is that the 5s will last more than just a year. And so if you build a 5 type of activity, you can pass on to the next den leader. That can become something that the pack has. You can start growing more of those things that are permanent parts of the program and elevate your program over time. And then lastly is the prep time. How much time is it going to take you as a leader to prepare for this specific activity? And 1 is minimal prep time, right? There's not much prep time. You read the card, you're good to go. To 5, there's something you're going to have to do like a week ahead of time. And more than likely, that's things where travel is required, right? So if you're going to go to the fire station or the police station, you should probably let them know a week ahead of time that you'd like to go visit. And so those are your 5. So now you can tell at a glance which activity meets my needs. Once you find the one that matches your resources, you click on it, boop, and then each activity has its own page, right? So we even go down to that level. So even activities could have their own QR codes, right? Or at least they'll have their own unique URL address, so then you can easily just shoot out to someone made this recommendation. If you're going to go visit the fire station, right, you can shoot this the URL address for that activity to the fire chief or your contact there, so that they know what the activity is about, so they can see what you're trying to accomplish or what you're asking them to do. So in that activity page will be essentially the written directions and the supply list, and then any other resources that we may have that will help you. It might be a photo, might be a video, a how-to video, it might be a downloadable PDF file of a worksheet or something like that. So all that resource right there in your direct line of sight, easy to share, easy to be able to print if you want to, and make your own customized Den Leader guide.
I love the fact that you can look at a card. All that is great, by the way, but I love the fact that you can look at a card and tell how much prep time is needed. Anthony, I'm not saying this ever happened to me, but maybe some Den leaders out there have woken up on a Monday morning and gone, oh, wow, I need something quick and easy for this week's Den meeting. Now they can just look at a card at a glance and see that. I love it. I love it. I want to point out real quick, I think Philip is talking about the handbooks, but in general, it says they're very great in terms of volunteer management too. I agree with that. I've been there, Anthony, I'm sure you guys have been there, where you're trying to explain a requirement to a volunteer and they kind of got that glazed look in their eyes, right? It happens. I think we take for granted a lot of these families are brand new to Cub Scouting. They don't know anything, right? It's really not an exaggeration. A lot of them don't know the difference between a Cub Scout and an Eagle Scout. And so it's so simple and fun and easy to use. Appreciate that very, very much. I want to remind everybody that we are just about a few minutes away from closing out our last and final episode of Cub Chat Live Primetime. Audrey is going to take us out with a little bit more information. Be sure and tune in this Friday, 2 p.m. Central, for another episode of Cub Chat Live, where Audrey and I will talk more about some specific program enhancements and updates. But Audrey, maybe before we say goodnight to the folks at home, kind of tell us where we are in terms of the calendar. We started talking about this program updates last December, maybe?
Yeah, November, right?
Yeah.
So our next chart's another favorite chart of mine, and was asked about earlier in the questions. And this is our rollout chart, and this is something to be really aware of. We're using Cub Chat Live, which is usually on Fridays at 2 p.m. Central. This is a special broadcast, but normally it's on Fridays at 2 p.m. Central, to highlight once a month a section of the updates in a lot more detail and be able to take some questions on that also. And the accompanying resources are also available as those topics come up. So it's the support resources like charts and things like that, like we've seen tonight. So it started in November with the general announcements on Cub Chat Live. And as Aaron said, they are all archived. So you definitely want to go back. If you've had questions that we just didn't hit on yet, go back and look at them. And then the new ones that are coming up this Friday is I'm going to be going with Aaron. We're going to be going into a little more depth of Webelos and Arrow of Light. And what does that look like? And some of the deeper questions that we had on the comment will probably be answered there. Upcoming, the next one in March is on handbooks and leader resources. We just touched on it here, but we're going to go in a little bit more depth there. And then Den and pack meetings, how do you plan for that? That was also in the questions, our top 10 questions, and then the safety integration, how that all works. So those are all prime time or our main daytime Cub Chat Lives at 2 o'clock Central. But you should know that the councils have been prepped and have their own channel of information with all the supplies and requirements and support there. So all the outdoors folks and the day camps and all the councils have this information, and they got it in November, and they've been getting continued updates as resources are there. So if you're a day camp person, I saw in the comments, that didn't have information yet, contact your council. They really do have those resources. They just maybe haven't put together the event yet. Then in December, we had some folks that were trained out at Sea Base. They were educated up on the new program updates and are available for presentations to councils. And we also are doing virtual presentations. And our national committee has also been educated on the updates, and as they've been working it, but they're able to present it now. And as well as the commissioners. So commissioners are the helpers out there to the units, and they have also been brought up to speed. So there's lots of helpers out there right now ready to go with some of that information. We're just ending our prime time so we can get more information out during evening time. And then as we transition to the Webelos and Arrow of Light, we have been working hand in hand with Scouts BSA, and we'll be working more closely with their Scoutmasters to work on what that transition looks like. And also another question they had was on training. And also those updates should be for position-specific training should be ready in May. And I skipped over the one that everybody's been talking about.
Everybody wants to know. Yes.
Yeah, where are the handbooks becoming? And that's in the spring. And we're not holding anything back. It's just as long as it takes to get from the printer to the shelves is in that time frame. So as soon as we have them, you will have them. And so in the spring, because we understand about crossovers and bridgings and people wanting to give them as gifts and people wanting to plan. So as soon as they're available, you will have them in the spring, as well as the belt loops and the pens and all those kinds of things. So that's exciting. And that's not far. That's not far at all. So exciting things. There will also be updated roundtable videos coming for those of you that support roundtables. There will be a whole series of those, or a series of those. And then our online tools will all be updated June 1st when this goes live. The scouting.org, all those resources and Scout Book and other appropriate reports. So lots coming and lots to stay tuned with. And if you missed one of the Cub Chats already, go back and archive them. And the next slide, I think, shows you how to do that. So the easiest way to share information is this Easy Share, as I'm calling it Easy Share. It's on Linktree, is at Cub Scout program updates. If you get that on any of the social media platforms, that will come up, and you can have access to the Cub Scout rollouts, which are on scouting.org. And that is your program updates. That is your one source of truth. I know there's a lot of things flying out there, and some may be true and some may not be true. So you want to go to scouting.org, Cub Scout program updates, and this will get you there straight up. Also, the QR code that's right there will get you there. And so we update that as we have more information. It also has a frequently asked questions, which was updated on the 3rd, and that's a must read. It's by section, so it has a lot of those AOL fourth grader kind of questions there, as well as many other questions are answered in detail and with the charts. The supporting charts are on there also. Has Cub Chat Live and podcasts. We're also on podcasts, so if you just want to listen to it. So that's a great thing to have, to use the Easy Share, as I call it, at Cub Scout program updates. Share it with everybody, and then they can get to those resources and see them as they're updated.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. We are a podcast now, everybody. So if you prefer to get your Cub Chat Live updates via podcast, you can do that now wherever podcasts are available. I think we just answered one of the most common questions we're seeing now is, when can I buy this stuff from Scout Shop? Spring, all the handbooks, adventure logos, loops, pens, all that stuff like that will be available this spring, which is weirdly, it's not that far away at all. It's crazy to think. This Friday will be February 2nd. And like Audrey said, she and I will be talking about another topic that a lot of you guys have asked about, the Webelos and Arrow of Light dens, how that's all going to work. Yes, we're aware that AOL Cub Scouts cross over early in the year, and that program's going to be shorter. We're going to talk about all that on Friday. Please tune in for that. Great job, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. Anthony, any final words before we let the folks go tonight?
Yeah, I saw one last comment there that we hadn't gotten before, and I do want to address it. Someone's like, so how permanent are these changes, right?
Yes.
These updates? And I do want to address that. So we've had, I think the last count was like over 200 people that were involved in these updates. And someone had commented that there was a lot of thought put in this, and there was, but the thought was really put into the infrastructure, and we want to make sure that the infrastructure was easy to update. And so we do expect, and people who worked on this, we really would be heartbroken that if 5 years from now, it's the same program, the same adventures. And so without any kind of updates and trying to stay current. So a lot of times when we talk about the future of scouting and we talk about Cub Scouting, we say, we want to be relevant. Well, you can't be relevant and not change, right? And so to remain relevant, you have to be nimble, a lot more nimble than what we've been in the past. And we hope that this platform, the structure that we created, will allow for those who follow us are able to, hey, here's a new topic that we really want to make an adventure. Well, it makes it a lot easier now to make it to do that. If we want to update activities and so forth. So we really want to make sure that we have a foundation for that ability to make necessary changes to stay current in our program. So no, we're not building a program that's going to last for 10 or 15 years. We don't want to do that, because if we do that, I think we're going to lose, because the families 10 and 15 years from now are going to be completely different than the families that we're serving today. And we don't know what they're going to look like 10 or 15 years from now. We may have projections, but we won't know that. And so this allows us to be able to change much quicker, be much more agile, and be able to stay relevant as a program without touching the Scout Oath and Scout Law, that the values that we want to see true to. But the method of how we do that should be changed and evaluated often.
It's probably one of the things that you can count on not changing is the Scout Oath and Scout Law. That would be a part of all of our programs for forever, I believe. Sheila comments, the new program will make it easier to bring new leaders on board. I agree with that, Sheila. And maybe we can close with a great comment from Tamara, who says, thank you, Audrey and Anthony. Always great to hear from you all. I agree. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Very, very, very informative. Audrey, we let Anthony have his final thoughts. Any final thoughts from you before we let the folks go tonight?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to thank everybody that has touched and been involved with this whole project the last 5 years. As Anthony says, it's been, we think, over 200 people, and they've just given their time freely from everywhere, from our subject matter experts, our national committee who have worked so hard, to the professionals, we had 4 universities checking for age appropriateness. So there's been all sorts of resources of folks who have lovingly given their time to better the Cub Scout program, and we are so thankful for that. And just wanted to send that out.
Awesome. I agree. Great job tonight, guys. Thanks you all for watching from your homes, whether you watched on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, or whether you're listening to this as a podcast maybe days or weeks from now. Whatever it is, we appreciate it very, very much. And a reminder, we'll see you all hopefully on Tuesday, this Friday at 2 p.m. Central for another episode of Cub Chat Live. Good night, everybody. Bye, Anthony. Bye, Audrey.
Bye.
See you all.